to show you how to make a apple pie oatmeal. This is really delicious stuff. It's great in the morning. You can make it the day before, have it ready for you when you wake up. At a time, you put it in the fridge, and it's ready to go. Now what you're going to need for the recipe is you're going to need an apple and some raisins, and I put a few chunks of the Cinnamon Crunch. There we go. It's 9 grams of protein. It's a protein crunch multigrain cluster with a touch of cinnamon. So I just add a little bit of that to the raisins, and got a whole bowl of raisins. Then I've got a nice sweet Gala apple. You can use whatever kind of apple you want, except Red Delicious, because they are anything but delicious. Vanilla extract, that's 100% vanilla, and then Himalayan salt, and then we've got the steel cut oats that are non-GMO. We've got the organic cinnamon, we've got the organic maple syrup, 100% nutmeg, and the cayenne. I use a little bit of cayenne, just a dash, not much. And of course, some milk. And the plain Greek yogurt. Now I use whole milk because I'm not worried about fat. Fat is not your enemy, it's your friend. You want to burn fat. That whole low carb thing is why America is so fat today. They marketed that to us for about 25 years, and all we did was get fatter and fatter and fatter. So let's stop the madness with the low fat, no fat stuff. Doesn't really do your body good. And so what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a layer of the steel oats, so we'll lift that off, and look at those, aren't they beautiful? They're a lot different than what you normally see oatmeal looking like, because these are steel cut oats. They're not what your usual. We're gonna pour it right in this, it's one of those locking lid jars. It's like a mason jar with a locking lid, and we're just gonna pour some oatmeal in there. And that's probably enough right there. Now, you can make as much as you want. The bigger the jar, the more you can make. I'm gonna do about that much with about that much milk. It's gonna soak up that milk overnight, so that will increase in volume and everything, but it'll be nice and tender in the morning, ready to eat. And then the next layer I want to do, then we're going to take a nice spoonful of the just plain Greek yogurt, no added sugar in this stuff. It's just really protein and carbs and fat, but not any added sugar, which I love that about this yogurt. And so we'll grab a dollop of that, nice big dollop, put that on top. The idea is that tomorrow I'm gonna open this jar and I'll have myself some apple pie oatmeal. So I'm just gonna go ahead and sprinkle a little cinnamon on there. Now this is organic cinnamon. I'm not too worried about the distribution of it. I just sprinkle it around. It's gonna get stirred in tomorrow. When I eat this, I'll stir it all up. And then I'm gonna take just a little bit of the cayenne, and this is organic right here. I don't need to put a lot. A little bit of the non-GMO. See that? That's the nutmeg organic right there. Put a little of that on there, and then we're gonna dump our raisins and our cereal in there. Oh, look at that! Yes, isn't that nice? Now I'll just cut up my apple. I'll throw those slices on top, and then I'm gonna sprinkle a little cinnamon over that, and pour a drizzle of maple syrup over the whole thing, and squirt a little bit of lime juice or lemon juice on the top, just to keep that apple from turning color on me. I want it to stay a nice, pretty color. Shut that lid up. I'll drop it in the fridge, and then tomorrow morning when I open it up, that oatmeal will have risen, the apples and the oatmeal and the cinnamon all, I'll just stir it all together. It's gonna be such a good breakfast. Very nutritious, wholesome, good for you. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna squeeze just a little bit of this lime juice over these apple slices, just to keep them from turning color on me and preserve them nice. And then I will take and drop those into my jar here. Oh, look at that. we are. I'm going to throw a little cinnamon, a little nutmeg, a little maple syrup drizzle over the top of that, and then I'm going to shut that lid up and just let it sit in the fridge overnight. By tomorrow, that's going to be the best breakfast you ever had. So now there it is with the vanilla and Himalayan salt and the cinnamon and nutmeg and a little bit of cayenne all sprinkled over the top of the apples there. And now that's just going to be closed up. Close that up. And once that's closed up, it just goes right in the fridge. And we're just going to let it brew in there overnight. Just sit it right in there. There we go. And that's going to be some good oatmeal in the morning. I hope you guys enjoy that. Also, while I was cooking that, I was also working on this, which that is a seasoned pork loin, and I just use some seasoning and a little bit of wine, a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of oil, and I bake it. Put the pork loin in the Pyrex dish. You cover it with, you put all your seasonings on there, then pour a little bit of drizzle of wine over it, or a drizzle of oil, and a drizzle of like the Bragg's organic vinegar, which is really good. And then you cover it with foil and let it cook in the oven for probably about an hour and a half to maybe at the most 2 hours, not any more than that, because you'll start to dry out your meat and stuff, and the tenderness of the meat, it's just perfect when it's around an hour and a half or to 2 hours at the most, and it'll be so like mouth-watering, it'll melt in your mouth. If you let it cook too long, it starts to get tough again. So you have a little window there. But what you want to do is brown it then at the end for about 20 to 30 minutes at 350. You can kind of check it. I would say, just to be on the safe side, half an hour. And it should look like this. It should be golden brown like that. And it'll, when you cut into it, it's going to be so juicy, moist, tender, and it'll have that nice caramelization on the outside that makes it taste so good. So hopefully that's another tip for you. And I'll probably cut up some apples and have them with this, along with some sweet potatoes and onions, and that's going to be a good meal right there. Or I may just do some mushrooms and zucchini and stir fry that and serve it with this. But either way, it's going to be delicious. All right. I hope you guys have a great day. And remember, love is the most excellent way. Love covers over a multitude of sins. Love never fails. So let's keep loving each other. Love you guys. Bye-bye. Oh, so good. All right. That is good. But I want to give you another little tip too. I don't want to forget to tell you this. Sometimes what people do is they'll cut up their meat and they go, why does this meat taste a little, or is a little tough? Sometimes that's because you're cutting it the wrong way. It's not because the meat's tough. Make sure you always cut across the grain of the meat, so you'll see the direction that all the fibers in the meat run. Those are muscle fibers. So they get soft when you cook them right. They caramelize and they start to melt and they start to tenderize and all that as you cook. But what you want to make sure of is that when you cut your meat, you cut across those so that all those little sections are separate. Instead of having cut with the grain, you'll have these long ribbons of meat. And when you go to chew it, it's kind of chewy instead of being really tender. If you cut it the other way, it's really tender, falls apart in your mouth. So that's another little tip for you. And again, love is the most excellent way, so let's keep loving each other. Bye-bye.